Welcome to Behind the Lights, the channel where we explore the most volatile conflicts, unexpected disasters, and awkward moments that shape Hollywood's landscape. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of public rejection, examining five major stars who, despite their talent and box office success, have consistently topped lists of the most disliked actors in the world. This is not about bad acting. This is about personality, persona, and the unsettling moment when the public decides they are simply tired of you. The relationship between a movie star and their audience is often a tightrope walk. You must be charming enough to sell tickets, but relatable enough to feel human. When that delicate balance is broken, the love can turn into fierce, enduring hatred. The actors on this list, despite their immense fame, have committed the cardinal sin of being either too raw, too polished, too erratic, or simply too much for the public to bear. Our journey begins with a surprisingly honest admission from one of the biggest stars of the last decade, Jennifer Lawrence. Lawrence, who spent years cultivating an image as the relatable, clumsy, outspoken antidote to the perfect Hollywood starlet, recently looked back on her own meteoric rise with surprising clarity. She confessed that she looked at interviews from her peak fame and realized something profound and, perhaps, damaging to her persona. "I look at those interviews, and that person is annoying." This quote perfectly encapsulates the strange paradox of celebrity rejection. An actor can achieve massive success by being authentic, only to be rejected later for the very authenticity they displayed. The fact that the public eventually rejected her personality, which she described as a defense mechanism, is a powerful indicator of how quickly the tide can turn. Over the next 30 minutes, we will be counting down the Toxic Five, the actors whose careers have been defined not just by their filmography, but by the relentless, often irrational, public scorn they attract. From highly publicized emotional outbursts to deeply unsettling legal battles and the crushing weight of a teen movie franchise, these are the stars who simply cannot escape their awkward past. We are counting down to the one actor whose public image is so polarizing, she has consistently been ranked as the single most hated actress working today. Let's begin the countdown with the actress who became a victim of her own success. A star so overexposed that the world simply decided they needed a break. Top 5. Jennifer Lawrence. The relatability fails, oversaturation, and public rejection. At number 5, we have Jennifer Lawrence, an actor whose presence on a most hated list is a perfect case study in the cyclical nature of celebrity fatigue. Jennifer Lawrence exploded onto the scene in the early 2010 seconds, quickly establishing herself as Hollywood's golden girl. She was the quirky, pizza-loving, hyper-candid celebrity who famously tripped on her way to accept an Oscar, successfully marketing herself as the relatable star who was somehow above the polished artifice of Hollywood. But the very qualities that initially made her beloved eventually fueled the J-Law backlash. The public rapidly grew weary of the persona she had created. Her tendency towards candid interviews, which often involves self-deprecating humor or overly expressive reactions, began to be viewed not as charming, but as calculated and even performative. When she recently confessed that even she now finds her old interviews self-annoying, it confirmed what many had been thinking for years. The character she played was no longer sustainable. The public had simply grown tired of the "I'm just like you" shtick, realizing that a multimillionaire Oscar winner, no matter how clumsy, is fundamentally not like them. Her professional life also contributed to the rising animosity. She was everywhere. The Hunger Games, X-Men, multiple Oscar nominations, Dior campaigns. This oversaturation reached a tipping point where her ubiquity became irritating to viewers. A major scandal involving the unauthorized release of her private photos further complicated her image, blurring the lines between her public persona and her private life in a deeply intrusive and traumatic way. On top of this, her pay gap claims regarding the movie American Hustle led to scrutiny, with some arguing that, based on total hours worked, she was one of the best-paid actors on set, generating online debate over the fairness and accuracy of her public statements. The modern celebrity era demands a carefully curated facade, but Jennifer Lawrence's persona, the seemingly unedited, unfiltered human, eventually became her Achilles heel. She became the biggest star in the world by breaking the mold, only to be punished for the very success that resulted. The public rejected the personality she put forth, forcing her into a recent, deliberate step back from the spotlight. The current news cycle shows Lawrence attempting to navigate these choppy waters by stating she will no longer be public about her political views, a move that critics see as a strategic attempt to read the room and appeal to a broader, less polarized audience. Jennifer Lawrence's place at number 5 is a stark reminder that in Hollywood, being universally liked is a temporary condition, and the fall from grace is often swifter and more brutal than the rise. Now, we move on to number 4, the leading man whose hatred is rooted in the toxic combination of an intensely devoted fan base and a profound sense of actor-audience betrayal. Top 4. Robert Pattinson. The Twilight Curse, Awkward Interviews, and the Old Batman Joke. At number 4, we have Robert Pattinson. While much of the initial dislike for Pattinson, or R. Pats, stemmed directly from the gothic, low-emotion aesthetic of the Twilight series, where he played the brooding vampire Edward Cullen, the modern antipathy is a more complex mix of his own self-deprecating humor and an industry that finds him challenging to control. The original list notes that people hated him for his boring performances and ruining vampires for everyone, suggesting a profound disconnect between the actor's artistic intention and the audience's expectation. Pattinson is an actor who consistently seems to be playing a joke on his own fame. He has publicly made fun of the Twilight books and films, which is widely seen as an act of betrayal toward the very fan base that made him a global superstar, a sentiment noted in the reference material. Humiliating the only group that truly adored him was, as the reference script wisely put it, not a good idea. This awkward, self-sabotaging streak continued even as he took on the iconic role of Batman. During the promotional run for the Batman, Pattinson made headlines by casually admitting that he refused to adhere to the standard superhero workout regime. While some lauded this as a refreshing challenge to Hollywood's unattainable male physique standards, others, particularly traditional blockbuster fans, saw it as a lack of respect for the material, the role, and the audience. In recent months, his candid comments about the severe delays of The Batman 2 have again drawn attention. He jokingly complained that by the time the sequel films, he would be ing old Batman, a comment that, while humorous, underscores the growing frustration within the industry and the public over the stalled project. The hate for Robert Pattinson is less about moral failings and more about perceived laziness, an anti-commercial attitude, and a persistent, uncomfortable awareness of the absurdities of his own career. He embodies the uncomfortable truth that a major star can be completely ambivalent toward the very thing that made them famous, and for many, that refusal to embrace the role of the conventional leading man is enough to merit inclusion on a list of the most disliked. Top 3. Anne Hathaway. The Hatha-hate phenomenon, perceived perfection versus genuine performance. Coming in at number 3 is Anne Hathaway, the star whose hatred phenomenon is so unique it was famously dubbed Hatha-hate. Unlike the previous entries rooted in scandal or insubordination, the public vitriol aimed at Hathaway is almost entirely based on her perceived perfection. The central thesis of Hatha-hate is that Hathaway is too polished, too poised, and too aggressively charming. She has a reputation for being an actor who, as the original list noted, emanates a polished and almost perfect aura. Her acceptance speeches are frequently cited as the flashpoint, where her overly enthusiastic, almost desperate expressions of gratitude come across as insincere or calculated to the cynical modern audience. The criticism is psychological. She is often accused of fabricating a false image of clumsy, strange girl to appear relatable, while in reality, she seems incapable of making a genuine mistake in public. This creates a profound friction. The audience wants to love her, but finds her seemingly flawless public presentation insupportable, feeling that her perfection gets under the skin. The rejection is not of her talent. She is an Oscar winner for Les Miserables and a genuinely gifted actress, but of the persona she projects. While the intense Hatha-hate of the 2010 seconds has largely subsided, replaced by a sense of grudging, respect, or even affection, the cultural memory of that rejection remains. Her recent career resurgence, including talk of a potential Devil Wears Prada sequel, has been met with excitement, suggesting the tide may finally be turning. However, the fact that an actress of her caliber could generate such sustained, abstract animosity simply for seeming too perfect earns her a solid spot at number 3. She proves that sometimes the biggest sin in Hollywood is appearing to try too hard. The 2 names remaining on our list, however, represent a far darker, more serious kind of celebrity rejection, rooted in genuine controversy and allegations of destructive behavior. Top 2. Shia LaBeouf. The true cost of performance art, plagiarism, and settled abuse allegations. At number 2, we find Shia LaBeouf, an actor whose public identity has become tragically inseparable from his profound and often destructive personal controversies. LaBeouf's descent from beloved child star of Holes and blockbuster leading man of the Transformers franchise into a source of public hatred is a painful narrative of bad attitude, plagiarism, and extremely serious legal troubles. The initial public fatigue with LaBeouf began with his erratic public behavior. He was frequently in the news for minor arrests, public brawls, and a series of bizarre performance art stunts that blurred the line between psychological crisis and artistic commentary. His career-defining awkward moment came when he appeared on the red carpet wearing a paper bag over his head with the phrase, "I am not famous," anymore written across it, a spectacle widely mocked and criticized as tone-deaf attention-seeking. This was soon followed by a major scandal where he was accused of plagiarizing the work of graphic novelist Daniel Clowes, leading to a public but insincere-seeming apology. However, the deep and lasting public rejection of Shia LaBeouf is rooted in allegations far more severe than public antics or plagiarism. His long history of on-set conflicts and reported aggression culminated in the 2020 lawsuit filed by his ex-girlfriend, the artist FKA Twigs, or Talia Barnett. The lawsuit alleged emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, including claims that LaBeouf knowingly gave her a sexually transmitted disease, slammed her against a car, and subjected her to profound psychological distress. These allegations painted a terrifying picture, transforming the public's perception of LaBeouf from merely quirky or misunderstood to genuinely dangerous. In July 2025, the parties agreed to settle the lawsuit out of court, dismissing the case with prejudice. Despite the settlement, the public record of the horrific claims cemented LaBeouf's place as one of the most volatile and deeply controversial figures in modern Hollywood. His failures extend beyond simply disappointing an audience. They include documented actions that cause profound harm, a cost that elevates his notoriety far beyond mere hate-watching. This brings us to the most hated actor on our list, a star whose entire public image seems to be a permanent lightning rod for contempt, whether through rigid silence or explosive fury. Top 1. Kristen Stewart. From emotionless to explosive, the unapologetic anger that fuels the hate. At number 1, the undeniable queen of the most hated list is Kristen Stewart. Her sustained, often irrational public rejection represents the cumulative impact of three major factors: the curse of a hated franchise, a perceived lack of emotional range, and a public cheating scandal. Stewart's career is indelibly marked by the Twilight Saga, the massively popular vampire romance franchise, where she played the human lead, Bella Swan. Even among those who loved the films, her performance was frequently singled out for its rigid and emotionless quality, often making her appear, as critics put it, without breath and constipated. Her tendency to speak quietly, fidget, and appear uncomfortable during interviews became her cinematic trademark, a signature awkward moment that viewers mistook for boredom or disdain for her own work and the fans who supported it. The second wave of hatred crashed down in 2012 when she was photographed having an affair with her Snow White and the Huntsman director, Rupert Sanders, while she was still publicly dating her Twilight co-star and our number 4, Robert Pattinson. This act was seen by many fans as a betrayal both on screen and off, immediately shattering the romantic fantasy of the Twilight universe and inviting mass public scorn. Even the most ardent Twilight fans were not impressed by her public apology. The latest development, however, suggests that the hatred she attracts is shifting in character from passive disapproval to a reaction against her explosive authenticity. In November 2025, Stewart delivered a highly charged, angry speech at the Academy Women's Luncheon. She passionately criticized the slow pace of progress in gender equality since the Me Too movement, declaring Hollywood to be in a state of emergency and stating, with palpable rage, "I could eat this podium with a fork and Ing knife. I'm so angry." This unrestrained display of emotion, though praised by many in attendance, is the opposite of the emotionless persona she cultivated for years, yet it still drew intense criticism. It proves that whether she is performing with rigidity or speaking with unapologetic anger, Kristen Stewart is a magnet for controversy. She refuses to play the conventional game of Hollywood fame, consistently rejecting the expected public-facing role of the movie star, and for that, she remains the most consistently and fiercely hated actress working today. The Toxic 5. Why Kristen Stewart, Shia LaBeouf, and Hollywood's most hated actors can't escape their awkward past. We have explored the complex ecosystem of celebrity rejection, ranking the 5 stars who most often find themselves at the top of these infamous lists. From Jennifer Lawrence's fall from relatable grace to the deep-seated psychological rejection of Anne Hathaway's perceived perfection, and from Robert Pattinson's self-deprecating ambivalence to the serious behavioral controversies surrounding Shia LaBeouf, the spectrum of hatred is wide. But ultimately, at number 1, Kristen Stewart embodies the final lesson. The audience hates most what they cannot control or what they believe has betrayed them. The common thread is the breakdown of the celebrity-audience contract. When authenticity is exposed as a performance, as with Lawrence, when talent seems to come with contempt, as with Pattinson, or when the line between a character and a controversy is dangerously crossed, as with LaBeouf, the public verdict is swift and severe. This list is a testament to the fact that talent alone is not enough to sustain a career. Maintaining a palatable, unawkward persona is often the true price of fame. What do you think of our ranking? Did we get the order right? Let us know in the comments below which celebrity you simply cannot stand. For more deep dive analyses into the scandals, conflicts, and awkward moments that shape the world of fame, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every week, bringing you the detailed stories behind the lights. Thank you for watching.